Hello everybody and welcome back. Today is a little bit of like a soft two-part video. This one will be covering Luna's Howl, which is one of the two hand cannons available from the Brave Arsenal. The other one, which is going to be uploaded at the same time, will be covering Midnight Coup, which is the other hand cannon available in the Brave Arsenal. You do not need to watch them in either order, and you do not need to watch both. You will get full value out of one or both if you decide to watch them, but since we're both covering legendary hand cannons, I think it's a good idea to kind of cover them both at the same time, because legendary hand cannons are going to do specific things very well, other things not so well, and I think kind of putting these two videos out at the same time allows me to get my thoughts in a more complete way, and hopefully helps inform you a little better if you're looking for something on either. So I don't want to waste any more of your time. If you like the videos or found them helpful, like, subscribe, follow on Twitch are all greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, this video is Luna's Howl, so on your screen right now are all of the possible perks for Luna's Howl. You'll notice that this one has some solar exclusive perks like Heal Clip and Incandescent. Incandescent has appeared on hand cannons before, and technically speaking so has Heal Clip, but the only one I can find that it's appeared on before is the Igneous Hammer that was reissued in Season of the Witch, and Igneous Hammer isn't typically considered a PvE weapon where I think Heal Clip is strongest, so we won't really count that for the purposes of this video. Luna's Howl is, in my opinion, the first PvE viable hand cannon that has had Heal Clip on it. And that leads me to the next part that I want to talk about with regards to Luna's Howl. And it's that I think for endgame PvE, it shines on one class in particular, that being the Solar Gunslinger Hunter. See, Warlocks and Titans on their Solar subclasses have really strong access to healing, both in the form of Cure and Restoration, as well as other healing effects like Well of Radiance. But Hunters don't really. You can get healing on a Solar Hunter, but it's much more difficult to keep it up. It's significantly weaker most of the times because you have to sacrifice your grenade for something like a healing grenade. And I think that's where Heal Clip comes into play. I don't think sacrificing a first column perk for Heal Clip on a Warlock or a Titan is really worth it, but on a Hunter I think it is, especially because the reload from Marksman's Dodge counts as a reload for Heal Clip, so you can use your Marksman's Dodge shortly after getting a kill in order to heal yourself as a Solar Hunter, which is very strong in content where you will be taking more damage. And like I said, as a Solar Hunter, you do not have as much access to healing on your own. It is a little trickier to keep Restoration or Cure up compared to Warlocks and Titans. I think I really like Heal Clip for Solar Hunter, especially because on most of the other classes, I would say, well, the reload on hand cannons isn't great by default, and while Luna's Howl is better than a lot of them, I don't think it necessarily necessitates on a Warlock or a Titan reloading that often in order to get that heal, when you just have much easier ways to do it, and you could run another perk. So if you're a Solar Warlock or a Solar Titan, I would actually recommend sticking to Zaouli's Bane, since that one is craftable, and you could do Enhanced Explosive Payload and Enhanced Incandescent. You can get a lot more ignitions out of it. Even if you don't want to use Incandescent, you have options like One for All, Firefly on that weapon. I think that Zaouli's Bane is much better for what you're going to be using it for on a Solar Titan or a Solar Warlock. And that would bring me back to the Solar Hunter. That's what most of the background gameplay for this video was recorded with, was my Gunslinger Hunter. In Onslaught, I played both Normal and Legend in testing these roles for this video. I felt like losing the first column reload perk didn't feel too bad, especially because with Solar Hunter you have access to On Your Mark, which is the buff that gives you reload speed, and it essentially acted like a reload perk for this hand cannon when I needed it up, and it was just much easier to use, flowed much better, and felt fantastic on every case where I felt like I wanted to reload. I did feel like I could reload and get my heal off in a decent pace. That brings me to the fourth column traits for this weapon. Since, like I said before, for Warlocks and Titans, I still think Zaouli's is better, but you're probably asking yourself, what about Magnificent Howl? This is the only hand cannon in the game with Magnificent Howl, so what if I feel like that could be the play for a Solar Warlock or a Solar Titan? Well, I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Magnificent Howl on this hand cannon for PvE. While Magnificent Howl does provide a very strong 50% damage buff, it did feel like it warped the gameplay too much. There are many times where the second you started hitting slightly higher tier enemies, I didn't feel like I could reliably get enough Magnificent Howl stacks in order to make it worth it. It was a strong damage buff when I had it active, but I almost wish they would buff the precision damage in PvE even more, and then make it so that the precision kills don't reset it maybe. The other issue I had was when playing with Magnificent Howl, Heal Clip both of those perks rely on a reload, so you want to try and get Magnificent Howl's reload off when you have as many precision final blows stacked up as possible, but if you need the heal from heal clip, then a reload could make it so you only have 1 or 2 Magnificent Howl stacks, which is significantly harder to keep up. A damage perk like this is really strong, but has such low uptime that I felt like I wasn't getting a ton of value out of it compared to Precision Instrument, which is a passive perk and did not interrupt the flow of when I wanted to reload for a kill. Precision Instrument may only give a stacking buff on hit up to 25%, which will be 5% per stack up to 30% when the enhanceable versions release later on, and we will have to see what enhanced Magnificent Howl has on it since it's currently not available on anything. But Precision Instrument was just so reliable of a damage perk on hand cannons, especially given that Luna's Howl, while being a 140 RPM hand cannon, is actually a precision frame, which is the archetype used for 180 RPM hand cannons. This means that its recoil is extremely vertical, so hitting crits was really, really easy. The only thing I had with Magnificent Howl was that a lot of times the stronger, tankier enemies, when you go higher up in the level difficulty, wouldn't die in 1 or 2 hits, and Magnificent Howl just could not keep stacks up consistently enough to make it feel worth it. It did feel great every time you were able to reliably hit those crit kills and have Magnificent Howl just run forever, but after about -5 or 10 power, it didn't feel nearly as consistent as it did in the lower levels, and I felt like Precision Instrument just was better across the board, and that's probably the one I'm going to keep using is Heal Clip with Precision Instrument. The best way I can describe it, really, if we look at other perks that exist in the game, is think about Frenzy. Frenzy is one of the most popular damage traits in the game. Frenzy only gives a 15% damage buff. While yes, it does give other things like a reload speed buff and all of that, it is still only 15% damage. But Frenzy is so good, in part because of the other buffs, but also because Frenzy gives such a high uptime. Once you're in combat long enough to activate it, it will stay active until you're out of combat, at which point you don't need Frenzy anymore. It's a crazy high value because 15% over a very, very extended amount of time ends up being stronger than something that's a bit higher on the percentage side, but has to be stacked up repeatedly in the course of a gunfight. This is why perks like Frenzy are so good. Precision Instrument, I think, is in a similar boat. It doesn't necessarily need kills in order to stack it, it's just hits, and that makes it very, very easy to stack up. You don't need to worry about some tankier enemies stopping you from being able to stack it, things like that. Again, I don't think necessarily as a whole this will be my go-to solar hand cannon for endgame PvE, only because Zaouli's Bane with the enhanced explosive payload and enhanced incandescent are just that good in my opinion. But for my hunter, in times where I may need a little bit of healing from Heal Clip, I will be using this one with Heal Clip and Precision Instrument. I could also see an argument to be made for Heal Clip and Incandescent, but for me, at least when I play Solar Hunter, I don't necessarily need as many ignitions as I do on like a Titan or a Warlock, so I'm kind of okay with just using Precision Instrument, because a lot of times when I'm on Solar Hunter, I'm running Celestial Nighthawk as my exotic, which gets your super back quicker if you get precision kills. So ignitions can get in the way of that, but Precision Instrument incentivizes getting more precision kills, and I think it just synergizes very well. And the other classes don't necessarily need precision kills as much. They get more out of the Scorch and Incandescent, and so I would recommend Zaouli's Bane for your Warlock and Titan builds out there. Although I do think Luna's Howl is fine. If you just like Luna's Howl more, I'm still personally going to keep using Zaouli's Bane. And that is all I have for the Luna's Howl review here. If you haven't watched it already, the Midnight Coup video is going up at the same time. It's going to be a little similar to what I say here, kind of how I compared Luna's Howl to Zaouli's Bane. We're going to be doing something similar with Midnight Coup and Fatebringer, which is, in my opinion, the other kind of popular kinetic slot hand cannon for PvE. Go watch that if you want. If you don't, oh well. If you liked it or found it helpful, though, like, subscribe. Always appreciate it, like I mentioned earlier. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.